Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. I'm your host, Owen James, the channel that brings you all your latest Rangers news every day, all day, kind of all day when I'm not at work. But one day, hopefully. Let's get the views up, let's get the subs up. We are still on our charge to 7,000, guys. Where are we up to now? Let's have a quick look. Live update. 89 away from 7,000. So please, obviously, help us get to that magic 7,000 figure as soon as is humanly possible. Right, we're going to do a bit of a transfer update because, look, it's January. We all love a transfer speculation. We all love a bit of transfer rumours. We all love a bit of, transfer this, transfer that. Who are we going to sign? Who are we not going to sign? Have we got any money? Do we need to go down the back of the Ibrox sofas to find some cash? Do we need to have a whip round at the next home game? What's the situation there? Right, so we've got bits and pieces to kind of go through. We've got some Lennon Miller news for you. We've got some Sam Dalby news for you. We've got some Robbie Fraser news. Some Vaslav Cerny news. We've got loads of stuff to go through with you. So look, let's start off with what we do know. As we mentioned on the podcast last night, Robbie Fraser has left the club. Thank God, not on a permanent basis. I must admit, when I read the rumour of him departing to Portsmouth for £200,000, I was livid. I was absolutely livid because I honestly believe this kid has got a big future at the club. B team captain, looks good whenever he's come on. Can play left back, play left wing. He's a top player. I like Robbie Fraser. I've been a big advocate for Robbie's over his time at the club. It's quite clear that he probably wasn't going to get a lot of first team football after Christmas, was he? We've got Hjefte fit, we've got Ridvan fit, and even with obviously the injury crisis in defence at this moment in time, Robbie wasn't going to get a lot of games. So, it's clear that he had to go out on loan. He had to go somewhere where he was going to get some football. So he has joined Livingston on loan, and will be able to play for them today. So this is what was tweeted out by Livy. We're delighted to announce the signing of Robbie Fraser on loan from William Hill Premiership side Rangers FC until the end of the season. And watching Robbie's interview online earlier, Robbie was, happy. He was, looking forward to getting started, looking forward to getting the opportunity to play first team football and really prove himself. So, look, we wish Robbie all the best. Good luck, Robbie, and hopefully, he comes back in the summer, having got a bit more experience, a bit more playing time as an even better player. And look, if it's a situation in the summer that Ridvan Yilmaz does move back to Turkey, which has been talked about on numerous occasions, then in Robbie Fraser, we've got a ready-made backup replacement to Hjefte. I think this does, of course, guarantee that neither of the two left backs will be leaving the club in this January transfer window. With the fact that Robbie Fraser has now departed, I think the chances of Trabzon or anyone getting hold of Ridvan Yilmaz are absolutely zero now, as I cannot see Rangers allowing Ridvan to leave, leaving us with only one recognised left back at the club. So I think it's like I say, it guarantees that both Ridvan and Hjefte will be here at the start of February. Right, look, so that's one guarantee. So it seems the transfer window is starting slowly to get moving at Rangers. Not been the most quickest of starts, not been a flying start, has it, by Niels Koppen and the recruitment team. But look, there's names out there. We've been linked with a number of players. We're going to bring you some Sam Dalby news in a minute, so hang on for that. We'll also bring you some Lennon Miller news. Right, we talked yesterday, didn't we, about Ben Godfrey, the centre-back from formerly of Norwich, Everton, and now of Atalanta, who was linked with Rangers in the summer. Now, that one appears to have died already, with Godfrey apparently in transfer talks with Ipswich in the English Premier League. Now, Ipswich, obviously newly promoted to the English Premier League, have found life very tough down there. Yes, they won a game the other day. I can't remember who they beat the other day. I think it was Chelsea, which is quite a remarkable result, considering the season that Chelsea are having. But Enzo Maresca, a manager who often starts the season well, troughs in the middle, and then picks up near the end. So I'm kind of surprised at that one. But Ipswich, currently sitting third off bottom in the Premier League, are looking to strengthen their squad to stave off relegation back to the Championship. And apparently Godfrey is one of the players they are now targeting. So, look, we can talk all we want about relative size of club, relative size of relative offer that we've got. We've got 50,000 seat stadium, we've got European football, we've got a chance to win trophies. Ipswich have got a very small stadium, a very small club, no chance of winning trophies, and not playing in Europe. Never probably will play in Europe again, barring a fluky cup win. So, but the problem is when you go up against the English Premier League, you have a situation where they have so much more money than we do. You know, the TV money down there, the revenue streams that come in, they're just loaded, and that's something we can't compete with. So, you know, if we can probably offer him, say, £20,000 a week as at the top end, you know, Ipswich are going to be able to offer him 40, 60, 80, 90, £100,000 a week easily, given the money that is available down there. So, look, I mean, I think that one's definitely dead now. He will be, I think we'll probably get an announcement in the next couple of days that he's joined Ipswich, either on loan or on a permanent basis. I mean, I would have liked to have had him. He looks a good player, certainly a better option than Johnny Evans. Look, I'll just go back over what I've said about Evans. I mean, Evans is 37 years old. The guy's past it. I mean, absolutely past it. I would be really, really angry if we signed Johnny Evans. I think it would be a very bad move. I think it would be a huge backward step by the club, a massive backward step. In fact, I'd go as far as to say signing Johnny Evans would be a bigger backward step than some of you think signing Ryan Kent would be. It's not what we need for the future. We need to, I think, if we're going to continue with the transfer of rebuilding the club, of moving the club forward, we need players who are going to be here for the long term, players who you can get more than 6 months to a year out of. That, of course, rules out Ryan Kent. But, you know, in terms of Johnny Evans, I just think that would be such a poor short-term move by the club. And again, it's an example of just wasting money on players, that when that money could be better spent on players who could be here for 2-3 seasons, and then we could get some money back for them in the future. So, look, I really hope that link to Johnny Evans is a spurious one and we don't end up with Johnny Evans at the club. I think it will be a very, very bad move by Rangers, and certainly not one that I would support in any way, shape or form. Right, let's move it along. Lennon Miller. Now, look, Lennon Miller is a player who is attracting an awful lot of attention. Not only in Scotland from that lot across the city and us, but also from south of the border. According to reports, you know, teams like Newcastle, Liverpool are also looking at Lennon Miller. He's certainly had a very, very impressive start to his career. And I think what kind of makes it even more frustrating for us as Rangers fans is this is a lad who came up through the youth system at Motherwell at the same time as Bailey Rice, and Bailey was Bailey was a player who was actually rated as a better player than Lennon Miller. Yet Lennon Miller has really kicked on and is widely regarded as one of the best young footballers in Scotland, whereas Bailey's kind of gone missing a little bit. I think that is largely due to the appalling mismanagement of our youth players by the current management team and the club in general. I think Philippe Clement and his backroom staff have a lot to answer for in how badly they have treated and managed the backroom, the young players coming through the system. Lennon Miller, though, apparently looks like he will be staying at Motherwell through this window and going nowhere. Now, according to reports, Niels Koppen has apparently scouted Miller and is interested in Lennon Miller, as is those across the city and teams south of the border. It's felt that both Celtic and Rangers can offer him a better package in terms of being able to play first team football. You know, a lot of people are saying that if he was to go to Liverpool, if he was to go to Newcastle, and Ryan Gravenberch, he's unlikely to feature at all. And the same pretty much goes for Newcastle's midfield with the likes of Joe Linton, Guimaraes, and players like that, for example. So, you know, look, at the end of the day, he's unlikely to get first team football. Whereas, say, at Celtic and Rangers, he moves at this age, he plays 2-3 years in the SPL, and gets first team football, continues to improve, and then when he's 21, 22, 23, can move south of the border when he's more likely to get first team football. That is thought to be the trajectory that many people are saying for his career. However, he is apparently now very, very unlikely to move during the January transfer window. This is what his manager, Stuart Kettlewell, has said. It's because he is injured. Now, he went off injured against us, obviously, after that bad tackle on Cortez, and this is what Kettlewell has said. You know, he says he's going to be out for longer than a month. He's got a hairline fracture in his ankle, which is going to keep him out for an extended period of time. He's now done this twice. With Lennon being Lennon, he tried to stay on. Last season, he had a fracture in his patella, but still to try to finish the game. But in getting that yellow card, it looks like he sustained a pretty significant injury, which is going to keep him out for somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks. So with the news that Lennon Miller will be out for 6 to 8 weeks, that takes him through the entire month of January and could even take him through the month of February. So therefore, therefore, the likelihood of him being signed by any team during this transfer window is practically zero now. So the Lennon Miller thing, I think, is something that Rangers will definitely revisit in the summer. That is what I'm hearing. That is what I'm reading. I mean, look, personally speaking, it's going to be hard to get hold of Lennon Miller. Obviously the bright lights of the Premier League, them across the city, the money they've got over the money we've got, it is going to be difficult. But if Lennon Miller is a player that we are genuinely interested in, and if Lennon Miller is a player we can get across the line, then at the end of the day, this is something we do. We should be looking at. We should be looking at bringing in young Scottish talent and actually playing young Scottish talent, not just disregarding them and letting them rot in the B team as we are currently doing. With the likes of Bailey Rice, Cole McKinnon, Zach Lovelace, Finlay Curtis, et al. So yeah, I do fully support this. That if Miller was a player we were looking at, that we would therefore go and sign him. I think this would be a very, very, very good move for Rangers. Right, look, a player who is attracting interest in the Scottish Premier League is the Dundee United striker. Well, he's not really a Dundee United striker. He's actually owned by Wrexham, is Sam Dalby. He is currently the top scorer in the SPL, scored a number of very important goals for Dundee United. And I mean, look, as much as we hate Dundee United, and Dundee United hate us, but let's face it, everybody hates us. We don't care. You've got to say that overall, Dundee are having a very, very good season this season. And full credit to Jim Godwin and his staff. They know that they've got Dundee up to third. That they're having a brilliant season. They've come up for the championship. They've come back stronger than ever. And fair play to them. Absolutely fair play to them. I mean, if you look at the scorers chart as they currently stand, Sam Dalby sits top on 10 goals. Bruce Anderson of Kilmarnock second on 8. Kyogo on 8 is third. Kuhn on 7. Murray on 7. Vaslav Cerny on 7. That's the top scorers in the Scottish Premier League. So Vaslav Cerny is our top scorer in the league. So look, Dalby is a player that is attracting interest. Now he is a player who is out of contract in the summer. He's only on loan at Dundee United, so I think Dundee United will be looking to hopefully for them secure his services at the end of the season. Wrexham don't appear to be interested, and I had a little bit of a dig into his career last night, and I'll be honest with you, up until him coming to Dundee, he hasn't had the best of goal scoring careers. His stats are pretty poor. It's actually only since he's come north of the border that he's suddenly found a way to score goals. And it may be now that, Sam Dalby as a player is sitting it and looking at it and thinking, well, look, up here, I get goals, I get chances, I score goals up here. Down there, it's tougher, I'm struggling. Look, I want to stay here. So, Dalby, given the fact that Rangers do need a striker, given the fact we do need to get rid of Cyril Dessers ASAP, given the guy is just not even good enough to play for Rangers and should be got rid of ASA, Sam Dalby, I think, really is a player that Rangers should hopefully be looking at. I mean, in terms of him, he's still only 25 years old, so it's not like he is past his best. He's not in the latter years of his career like Dessers, who's 29, going on 30. And we all know that once a player reaches 30, they tend to down spiral. They don't tend to upward spiral. So he's 25 years old. He is over 6 foot. He's a big unit. He's a physical guy. He's strong, but his movement and his possession-based play is good. Like I said, he's under contract until the 31st of May 2025. So he will be available on a free transfer at the end of this season. So look, I mean, I would certainly be looking at possibly getting. I mean, I don't think January will be a realistic option. I don't know what the terms of his loan agreement is with Dundee. It may be that there's no break clause in that contract, so therefore he has to stay with Dundee United for the rest of the season. But there's nothing to stop us going in there, offering him a pre-contract, getting him tied down to a pre-contract and bringing him over in the summer. As I was saying, his figures over his career are not massively impressive. 88 games for Wrexham, 13 goals, 12 assists, 25 goal contributions in 18, 13 goals and 88 for a striker is not that impressive. 9 goals in 44 for Southend, again, not that impressive. 1 in 19 for Leyton Orient, not that impressive. 1 in 14 for Woking, not that impressive. I've got to say his career does kind of smack a little bit of a Jamie Vardy kind of, coming through a lot of the kind of poorer teams in England, the Morecambe, Stockports, Wokings, Leyton Orient, Southend United, Wrexham's. Well, the Wrexham are Welsh, and we all know the story behind Wrexham. But, he hasn't really had, other than say Watford, he hasn't had any of the kind of bigger clubs in England, and he has struggled at those lower levels in England, which, does kind of worry me to some degree that, that his facts and his figures, his stats away from, this season have been poor. I mean, he scored 10 goals in 18 games for Dundee United, which is, very, very good. And it may be that, in Scotland, that's his kind of where he's happiest, and that's where he scores goals. And look, I mean, we all know that in Scotland, there is a situation where playing a lot of the teams up here, they are weaker teams. They're not as good as some of the English League One teams. So you naturally will score goals against them. There's probably players who've scored goals up here who move them south of the border probably wouldn't score as many goals. That's just life. In terms of his career, he's played in the National League, he's played in League Two, he's had 17 games in the Premiership. That's obviously for Dundee, the Scottish Premiership, not the English Premiership. 11 games in the FA Cup. He's played in the EFL Trophy, the EFL Cup, League One, League Cup, and he's played he's actually been a part of a Championship squad, never played in the Championship. But like I said, his facts and figures are not great. I mean, National League, 16 goals in 404 games. The National League is non-league football. It is the league below League Two in England. So, there is, I think, with Dalby, a risk. The fact that he has in the past struggled to score goals and isn't exactly prolific. Yes, some of that might have to do with the teams that he was in and the players that he was surrounded by, how many game minutes he got, etc., etc. Yes, certainly since he's come up here, he's looked a lot better. He certainly has played a lot better. He's scored goals. He may be worth a punt. That is a situation. But, it depends where Rangers are looking with Dalby. Are they looking at this season, or are they doing a bit of background checking? How much data are they looking at? If they're looking at the past and looking at what he's done in the past, they may be sitting there and going, that's not good. Doesn't look great, does it? I mean, like I said, 17 games in the Premiership in Scotland, 10 goals. 40% goal participation rate. He's played 88% of their starting 11s. He's done well. But my one worry about Sam Dalby, and I know a lot of you have been very keen on Dalby, is his record away from Dundee. His record at English clubs, his record, of scoring goals. That, is this a one-off fluke? Is this, just a situation where he's getting goals now because Dundee are in a rich vein of form? And, if he was to move club, does he become a player that, just kind of fades away into insignificance, and becomes another, for want of a better word, becomes another Cyril Dessers, becomes a bit of a Franny Jeffers, becomes a bit of a flop? Is that what we're looking at with Sam Dalby? Now, it depends whether we're willing to take the risk. I mean, look, personally, my personal opinion on this is that, that I'd need to watch some more tape. I'd need to watch some more video of him. I'd need to look a bit into everything a little bit deeper on him. But, on the outside of things, on the window view of things, he looks a good player. He looks like a player who would score goals in Scotland. And I suppose what you've got to kind of say is 18 games, 10 goals in the Dundee United team that probably, that definitely do not create as many chances as we do. So you've got to kind of take that into consideration. If you were to put him into our team, with our team creating as many chances as we do, like the 24 we created against Celtic, is this a situation where actually, do you know what? He would actually be even more prolific and could get 30, 35 goals a season. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, there is, I think, and there is with any signing, a warning, a caveat, a worry that it won't work out. And I think with strikers, that's even, isn't it? The strikers situation is even more so a concerning one. When you go to sign a striker, you often are committing a reasonable amount of money to that. You were often put in a situation in where, if they flop, then it kind of even more than any other position, because if they're not scoring goals, then hey, they really do stand out. So look, Dalby, I get the attraction to Dalby. I really genuinely. But I think looking at the Dalby situation, it will be one that we kind of look at in the summer rather than now, given the fact that, that he can't be brought to the club in January. So that's another one situation. And look, the club have already said, I think, that centre-back is one of the priorities they're looking at. And I think given the fact we won't spend, I think, a king's ransom in this window, and I think 2 to 3 players maximum will be what we bring in. I genuinely believe that, that this is one that maybe a pre-contract, maybe something we could look at. Right, some news about one of the players that could possibly be departing. Now, I don't believe there is a break clause in Vaslav Cerny's contract. That is the good news, okay? So I don't believe that there is a break clause in his contract, especially after Rangers paid a £1.5 million £1 loan fee for the player. Now, Cerny has been one of the best players by far at the club. He has been absolutely outstanding. Brilliant, in fact. Yes, he started off not so great, and I think a lot of players were questioning his his value to the club. And he's got 10 goals, 6 assists from 29 appearances, 16 goal contributions in 29, which is excellent. And he was absolutely brilliant against Celtic. Absolutely taught them a new one. But apparently, he is attracting attention from Villarreal in Spain. That is reports that are currently doing the rounds. Now, like I said, it is being reported that Villarreal may even try to bring him to the club in January. Villarreal are currently fifth in the Spanish La Liga and are pushing for a Champions League place and looking to strengthen their team. Now, many people feel that Cerny is a player that Rangers, again, will be facing an Abdallah Sima style situation with, where come the end of the season, we won't be able to afford him. Given the fact that, like with Sima went to Brest, which it just causes the most hilarious hilarity. Guys, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you've got TikTok, look up Micah Richards Brest, or Kate Abdo Brest. Actually, don't look up Kate Abdo Brest, I could bring something else up. But there's a hilarious thing from the Galazzo NBC program, Champions League program, where Kate Abdo tells Micah Richards he's not allowed to talk about Brest because he's too on the football team, because he's too immature. And then Jamie Carragher and Thierry Henry spend the rest of the time talking about the football team Brest, but doing it in such a way that it just causes them all to lose the will, just lose it in the end. And I must admit, whenever I hear it, my childish bit comes out there, Brest. But there you go. But yeah, so back to the story. So the whole Cerny situation. Look, I think that Cerny is a player that, is an excellent footballer, and I'd love to keep him at Rangers, but I do genuinely believe with Vaslav Cerny we'll be facing yet another Abdallah Sima situation. Wolfsburg will be looking at his form, looking at how he's playing, and thinking, do you know what? Whatever we've said in the past to Rangers as regards fee, say 4 or 5 million, I've heard rumoured, they're going to sit there and think, do you know what? We could get a hell of a lot more money from him if we want to sell him. We really genuinely could. And, clubs, look, he's at the end of the day, he is Wolfsburg's player. And Wolfsburg will have the right to charge what they want for him, or charge what they can get for him, shall I say. Now, Transfer Market currently lists his value at €8 million, which is about £7.5 million. That I think could be a situation that Wolfsburg could be looking for north of that figure, between the £8 and £10 million mark. Now, with the finances they're currently the way they are at Ibrox, I can't see us being able to afford 8 to 10 million on one player. If we've got 8 to 10 million to spend, we're probably likely to put into 2 or 3 players at this point in time, without any extra investment from outside. So it is a worrying time for us in terms of, keeping hold of the services of Vaslav Cerny. Now, Villarreal, if it is that Villarreal are interested and they go to Wolfsburg with a reasonably good offer of, say, £8 million, £9 million, and then come to Cerny, Villarreal play in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. They will have guaranteed Champions League football. Possibly, or they've got guaranteed European football at least at this moment in time. So I don't know. This is it's a difficult situation to look at. They can probably offer him more wages as well. Their budget will be higher than ours. Which, if you consider a tiny team like Villarreal, who, for a long time were a Spanish non-league team, they've done brilliant. I mean, nothing against Villarreal. They've been brilliant. They've done fabulous to get to where they are, and have, on the odd occasion, caused the big 3 in Spain, Atletico Real and FC Barcelona, some issues. So, look, fair play to them. But, this is another worrying situation. I think Cerny will stay to the end of the season. I think that is a given. I think that's 99% certain that he stays to the end of the season. Beyond the end of the season, I do think we will lose Cerny. Again, facing another Malik Tillman, Abdallah Sima situation with him. Look, I mean, in terms of going forward, I think it is a seller's market in January. That is the issue. in January, clubs often overcharge, and January is not usually a time when clubs move and sign a great deal of players, a large number of players. It is just basically used for topping up and to kind of fill in gaps and to kind of address weaknesses in the squad or address injuries in the squad. So I do believe that Rangers will make signings, but I don't think it'll be a lot. But I still think that whatever we do this window, it needs to be kind of part of that that rebuild, part of the fact of this retool of the squad, not just short-term measures. It needs to be players that are going to come, players that are going to stay, players that are going to be here for 2 years, perhaps, and then sold on for a big profit. It needs to fit in with the transfer model for me. I think as well there is Deadwood that needs to be cleared from the squad. I would say that Dessers, Dowell, Matondo, Tavernier are all players that we should be looking to move on in January. I think of those 4 names, Tavernier is the least likely to move, as he'll want to stay to get his hands on his testimonial money. But Dessers, certainly, I think reports that I'm hearing is that he's unhappy being third fiddle behind Hamza and Danilo. Even though if he had any brain about him, he'd see that both Danilo and Hamza are 10 times the player that he is. Dowell, again, a player who I just genuinely don't get as a player. Absolutely. I mean, I gotta say, I laughed at a tweet the other day that I saw that said 2 idiots have run on the pitch and the football stopped, and someone said, "Is this Dessers and Dowell?" It was a Chelsea tweet about people running on the pitch. Matondo, again, another one who is far too injury prone, flat as to deceive, never really proved himself at the club. Another one, he was in Norwich, obviously, were interested in him in the summer. Is that something we can rekindle at? But I do think there is still a need to move out Deadwood from the club, and in the words of Donald Trump, to drain the swamp of those that need to be drained, the Taverniers, the Dessers, the Dowells, the Matondos of this world, the swamp dwellers that do need to be got rid of, the swamp dwellers that are dragging our club down. So I do think that there is a need to move those guys on. I think there is a lot of priorities for the team still, but I think in terms of signings this window, I think it is very much a case of looking at it in terms of priorities. Where are the priorities in the squad at this moment in time? Where would you say those priorities lie, and targeting just the priorities at this point? I think that is the key issues for me. The club have already said that centre back is a top priority. I mean, personally, I would say that centre back, centre forward, right back, winger, and centre midfielder in that order at this moment in time are the priorities for the club. I think we need another centre back to come in and sort of add to that. I think we need another centre forward. If we can get Dessers off the books, I think a lot depends on what happens with Dessers. Now, Dessers obviously had that possible move to Atlanta United, which he turned down in the summer, which was a mistake. I think we should have done everything we could to force him out of the club. So for me, Dessers, I mean, the issue, of course, you've got as well with Dessers is the fact that, we're paying him £27,000 a week to be one of the worst strikers in Scotland. I think right back is another area we need to address. We've got Dujon Sterling, obviously, now that Nana's gone back to Feyenoord and is unlikely to feature again for Rangers this season. Tav, obviously, is likely to move on at the end of the season. I think that's something, again, we need to look at. Winger, I think, is another one we need to look at. Right winger, maybe more so, or especially given the fact that that Cortez has a very checkered injury history. Matondo could be sold. Bayrami's not a left winger. We've got McCausland, we've got Cerny, but Cerny's not our player. So I do think that winger becomes very quickly a priority because we really haven't got any. Finlay Curtis is one, but he doesn't seem to ever get a look in. And I think another centre midfielder would also be a good addition, a number 6 perhaps to back up Raskin, to cover for Raskin when we need him to, and also the fact that there is very real risk, I believe, that Raskin could go at the end of the season. Given his present form, I think the English clubs could well start coming, sniffing and looking at him and thinking, yeah, he's a lad who could do a job for us. Look, it's still very early in the window. It's only the 4th of January, so we've still got, a good 27 days to go. We've still got a long way to go for this month. And, the stories will come thick and fast because we are Rangers and, papers and media, and everyone understands that the moment you bring Rangers into it, fans are interested. Given the fact we've got one of the biggest supporter bases in the world, they'll get the interest, they'll get the media clicks, and they'll get the views, won't they? So that's what it is. And I think we're all guilty of that, aren't we? Even me. But, look, it's kind of an update of where we're at, what we're looking at. It kind of still is very early. I still think, the scouting process is ongoing. I think, as the days go by, we'll start to hear more links, more possible moves. The ones that I've heard so far, like I said, Johnny Evans, I really hope is not true at all. I do not want that man at our club. Ben Godfrey, that one seems to have died a death now. And the other one's kind of, again, Miller was, I think, what is going to be one for the summer if we do go in for him. The Cerny news is certainly worrying. But look, we are where we are. This is what it is. Guys, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, on the way out, if you can smash the like, smash the sub, comment, share, do all that fabulous stuff for me, that would be brilliant. And obviously, remember our target, 7k as soon as possible. We are some 89 away now, not far to go. Look, let's do this, guys. Thank you for watching. We are the people.